Alright guys, so we're gonna do an academic controversy kind of thing today. It's gonna be a fun class, it's gonna be interactive. Can I get you guys to get on a piece of paper? If you need one, I can just grab one. Just because it's just like okay, some notes. Just for a warm up or something. You guys can share, like it just needs to be like paper. Do you need another one? Ready? Ready?
Or we can share.
Yeah, just share. Okay, so as your, do you need a pencil? As your warm up, I just want you guys to like define an argument, like what makes an effective argument, what do you need in order to have an effective argument? So just take a few like short little minutes to give me that kind of information. Alright, well you guys are finishing up. I have a question, like who doesn't like Brussels sprouts? Okay, why don't you like Brussels sprouts? But they're like a small head of cabbage that you can eat
In
in
a
a
second, like just plain.
But they're like crunchy.
The taste on my tongue is not good.
So you don't like Brussels sprouts because of the taste, but you can do so many things to it. You can cook it. You can have salt and pepper, little garlic powder on those Brussels sprouts.
You could do that, it's possible. I don't know if I would still enjoy it though. I might just not like them at all.
Okay, so this is just a silly example of like what an argument is. So you want to like, it consists of, from the Oxford English, it consists of reasons or sets of reasons given with the aim of persuading others. So obviously I asked like who doesn't like something that's, a lot of people don't like Brussels sprouts because they were forced to eat them as a child, I guess. But you just like coming up with reasons, backing up those reasons, and then in an argument with like someone else, doesn't have to be like a foot stamping argument. Like what we mean by argument is like presenting a side, having examples to back up that side, and then while listening to someone else while they come at you from like the other side with their examples as to why, and being able to refute them. So do we know what like refute means? Can you tell me what refute means?
Like, giving the opposite of the like information that you sort of posed.
Right, yeah, like to prove a theory to be wrong, basically, is
Yeah.
what refute means. So that's kind of like what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be taking a side, like two of you are going to be paired together. You're going to be taking a side on something, and then thinking of examples of a video, taking examples for why you've chosen that side, and then refuting the other side of that. So we just kind of listed out our objectives so you guys know kind of what we're expecting. To understand evidence is needed to be clear and effective, needed to be presented to have a clear and effective argument, like knowing what you need to do to make a good argument, basically. We're going to be taking a stand on a topic, refuting a topic, like I said. And then we're going to be using listening skills, obviously, because you can't refute. Yeah, they're always trying to break in. Yeah, you can't obviously refute an argument without listening to that argument, so you have to really pay attention to one another. Yeah, so, and we're going to lead into this awesome TED Talk.
Alright, so like Cheyenne mentioned, we're going to be talking about something called academic controversy, and we're going to split you guys up now into partners. And so I'm going to pass out this worksheet that you guys can take your notes on. And if you look at the top where my model is, it says statement of opinion. And for this group here with Lindsay and Professor Davis, you guys will be the topic adults should learn from kids. So adults should learn from kids. And then this group here is going to be adults should not learn from kids. And again, it's inside the statement of opinion. So now before we jump into our short video clip, I want you to make a few predictions about what we're going to be watching. 3 to 5 sentences of what adults either should learn from kids or should not learn from kids. So it's about your specific topic, and it's going to be in the box below where we have reasons for opinion. Again, 3 to 5 sentences, just as something to get your mind geared toward what we're going to be watching.
Like, are we saying adults shouldn't learn from kids because, or are we
Yeah,
saying?
should not learn from kids.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. Sorry.
Take about 30 seconds to wrap up your last thought. Finish up your last sentence. Okay, so the person that we're going to be watching today is someone who's called Adora Spitak, and she is a prolific short story writer and blogger since the age of 7. She's also an accomplished writer, has already a book published, and so we're going to be watching her take on how adults should be learning from children, okay? And there's also obviously the con about why they should not learn from children, and those are going to be, if you want to flip to the back side of your worksheet now, this is where you're going to be supporting your evidence, so collecting evidence from what we're going to be watching to either support your argument and also maybe even get your thinking about reasons why someone might be objectionable to what you're supporting. Does that make sense? So collecting evidence, listening for direct quotes, and taking your notes down on this top box, right?
The most exciting thing about this girl is that she's only 12, which is kind of overwhelming when you listen to her, and she's just really prolific. She's amazing.
True story, by the way. Now, adults seem to have a prevalently restrictive attitude towards kids, from every don't do that, don't do this in the school handbook, to restrictions on school internet use. As history points out, regimes become oppressive when they're fearful about keeping control. And although adults may not be quite at the level of totalitarian regimes, kids have no or very little say in making the rules, when really the attitude should be reciprocal. to write from the age of 4, and when I was 6, my mom bought me my own laptop equipped with Microsoft Word. Thank you, Bill Gates, and thank you, Mom. I wrote over 300 short stories on that little laptop, and I wanted to get published. Instead of just scoffing at this heresy that you wanted to get published, or saying wait until you're older, my parents were really supportive. Many publishers were not quite so encouraging. One large children's publisher ironically saying that they didn't work with children. Why would a children's publisher not work with children? I don't know, you're kind of alienating large client there. Now, one publisher, Action Publishing, was willing to take that leap and trust me and listen to what I had to say. They published my first book, Flying Fingers, you see it here. And from there on, it's gone to speaking at hundreds of schools, keynoting to thousands of educators, and finally today, speaking to you. I appreciate your attention today because to show that you truly care, you listen. But there's a problem with this rosy picture of kids being so much better than adults. Kids grow up and become adults just like you. Or just like you, really? The goal is not to turn kids into your kind of adult, but rather better adults than you have been, which may be a little challenging considering your guys' credentials. But the way progress happens is because new generations and new eras grow and develop and become better than the previous ones. It's the reason we're not in the dark ages anymore. No matter your position or place in life, it is imperative to create opportunities for children so that we can grow up to blow you away. Adults and fellow Tedsters, you need to listen and learn from kids, and trust us and expect more from us. You must lend an ear today because we are the leaders of tomorrow, which means we're going to be taking care of you and your own son. No, just kidding. Actually, no, really, we are going to be the next generation, the one who will bring this world forward. And in case you don't think that this really has meaning for you, remember that cloning is possible, and that involves going through childhood again, in which case you'll want to be heard just like my generation. Now, the world needs opportunities for new leaders and new ideas. Kids need opportunities to lead and succeed. Are you ready to make the match? Because the world's problems shouldn't be the human family's heirloom. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So now for the next few minutes, I want you to turn to your partner, the partner that you will be strengthening your argument with. I want you to compare some of the supporting evidence that you were able to find from the video, whether it was quotes or maybe just personal examples from something that can help strengthen that argument for that topic that you were given. Okay? So turn to one another and share what you have.
Educators and adults, we need to realize that definitely it's easier than me to make the partners that he'll rise up and be better people.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down that quote you said, it was like, the goal is not to be like your kind of adult, but to be better adults, which is like probably a little scary for adults. And she also said something like listening shows caring, or something like when you listen to somebody, it shows that you care about them, and that's like kind of a basic human need to like feel cared about.
That's true, they still need to be ones like doing the teaching.
And a good argument for it is just that she's giving that talk and we're watching it, you know, and if you look at how many views it's gotten, it's like millions, yeah, so, I mean, clearly, like lots of people, if not agree, like are hearing what she said, or hearing her voice, you know, so.
that was like one of my kind of questions. It doesn't really have nothing to do with it, I'm trying to think of.
Well, yeah, did I say it before?
Yeah, we're good.
Five.
So we're on step 3 right now, right? Yes.
Are you ready to step 4?
Okay.
Like, as, like, for thinking, you know, okay, she's 12, she can start, that's age that you start formulating more thoughts and feelings. Okay, let's get down to the fun stuff. So, group 1, which I'm going to assume is the pros right here, you will give your argument to the cons, and you'll provide clear examples for them to see why your point is more right.
Alright. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
You start and then I'll end.
Okay, I think we started with like, students will rise to challenges if adults like actually raise standards for them. Like, it seems like adults are standing in the way by dumbing things down for kids, and if they open doors for them, they'll rise to those challenges. The kids are the future leaders of the world. It's important to like encourage them and to not make things so easy for them, because they are gonna be, you know, the teachers, the police officers, the president. It's important to not dumb things down. You can go with the quote.
Yeah, so one thing she said that we noted is she said the goal is to not be your kind of an adult, but be better adults. So that will only happen if kids, feel as if they have a voice and can make change from an early age. And, she's giving this TED Talk and we're watching it now. So, so clearly other people feel as if she should be given a voice. And if you look at the views, it's like 3 million people have seen this talk. So, so it seems as if adults already are learning from kids because we are right now.
Now cons, now that you've heard their argument, you do the same thing and try and convince the pros that what your opinion is on this topic is more right than theirs.
Do we like try and like go off of what they have said, or just?
No, not yet. Just from what you saw in the video, just go from what your opinions were.
I'll go first. Like, this is much of my stuff in the video, just in general with kids, is while kids are still, undeveloped, they're still developing, growing, their brains are still changing, their personalities are also still changing, they're in complete and total flux. They don't have as many most of them don't have as many life experiences, they're not accustomed to how things in the real world act, they're still very ideal, which is nice, but not practical.
And then going off of that, like she was saying, there's that whole idea of like when you go through child and you have to go through something that's very adult, you grow up very quickly. But there are some kids who are very fortunate to have these like cush lives, and so they don't have those experiences, and so it's almost like they don't need to have that higher thinking. So it's not just like it's. I feel like it's more like what your parents do for you. And then also, she made the comment that age has nothing to do with like how far like someone can go or like how someone can teach you. But if you're 5, there's not that much more that you might be able to teach your parents. Because at that point, you are just still learning everything. Like you are learning how to still walk better. Well, maybe not at 5. Hopefully, you should be walking pretty great. But you're still like just learning the very basics of how to be like a kind person, or like how to share, and you're learning like the fundamental things of just how to interact with other people. And so I don't think there's that many like things really that you could be able to voice to somebody else of the case of teaching them.
Are you guys good? Do you have anything else? Okay, now we're going to open it up to large group discussion. So you'll take what you've heard them say and you'll try and prove why it's wrong. And then they'll do the same for you. So,
Whoever wants to start? Go ahead. I can start.
Go for it.
So you guys made the point of not dumbing things down, but along with that, like it should still be age appropriate. That doesn't mean you need to constantly be reading Wheels on the Bus, you can like up it, but I don't know, maybe they were really smart to understand those books that were read to them, because I don't think that would even like hold the interest in me if I was, you know, like 4 years old.
Yeah, but you also have to think about like what is age appropriate, like, yeah, the Wheels of the Bus is appropriate for 4-year-olds, but you could also read Homer to them and explain the story of Homer to them, and that could also be age appropriate.
I still didn't understand Homer.
I mean, I'm saying like you can read a higher level book, you may have to explain it a little more to them, but if you give them more challenging things from the time they're younger, then
I agree, like, we don't, like, they could start there, but there are like chapter books that get you ready and develop your, like, you still have to like learn to read, and you can't just jump into reading Homer. You know, so there are other like chapter books that like have simpler words, and once you know a student can do that, then they can start to move on to higher things. You don't have to hold them back just because of their grade level. But if you just throw big things, students who have trouble doing that, they might get discouraged because they're like, wow, this is really hard. I can't do this. Like, I can't believe that I'm asked to do this. Like, why?
She did say that it sounded as if her dad was reading it to them, like that she wasn't reading it
Right.
herself. So it is true that you can listen to like a more challenging text that maybe you couldn't read on your own, but if somebody else reads it to you. And I don't know if she was saying this necessarily, but there is the argument that, you know, some kids are ready, you know, to be heard and listened to, but maybe others might not be ready at this age. you
Right.
know? So maybe she's not saying that all kids would do it at the same time, but that there is like value in a perspective of someone who is younger.
Because that's such a neutral point, I would say now we're gonna move on to step 7, and like where you reverse your positions kind of, so you get to look at it from the other side's perspective. So,
Have a couple minutes there.
a couple minutes to switch and think about now you guys think about the pros of it. And then you guys think about the cons. Of course, you can take into consideration everything they just said.
Should we say it to them or talk about it?
We're going to talk about it amongst yourselves
Okay, all right.
first, and then we will have large group discussion. And with this one, think about 2 main points, specifically 2 strong main points for your argument. So make 2 concise, strong arguments.
There was one point that it is sort of like that age shouldn't matter, but then the fact that she is 12 seemed to make it part of her point. It was a little bit of a contradiction. It was sort of like, I mean, she did say listen to kids, but the one that I do think is like this idea of like growing up quickly, sort of, and like I think a common position that would also kind of not seem negative is, in a way, is like that like when you give kids too much like power early, then they become like sort of like egotistical or something. You know, they might think they have something to say when in fact they don't. Like we haven't read her book, you know, it might actually be terrible. So, because she's given all these speeches, but some of it might be because she's a kid and she wrote a book, you know. So her point is not actually groundbreaking, you know, it's just like listen to kids, basically, you know. I mean, she has a good vocabulary and stuff.
She doesn't come impressed with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
12-year-old doesn't probably worth that on
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, really the thesis is fairly simple.
Yeah,
It's like, listen, you know, listen to what kids are saying.
This is what I was really starting with.
It might need a little more time. Are you good? Okay, so now that we've switched positions, let's start with you guys first and tell them your side now.
So she made the point of saying like she had something to say and sort of a lot of kids do, and, you know, we shouldn't look over the wants and needs of children, and ignoring anything that they say isn't fair. Because sometimes they have like really creative ideas and really advanced thoughts that you might not realize until you actually stop and listen to them.
We talk about how like maybe like giving kids too much power too early. Like I mean, she's obviously gone very far for her age, but also if you give kids a lot of power that early, they can sometimes think like that they have like a lot to say or everything they say is like super important, even though it's not necessarily important. Like, you can be like, the school buses should be red, and it's like, okay, why? Like, and they're like, because I said so, and I have power, I'm a kid. And it's not, I'm being really silly about it, but yeah. Do you want to do the power point?
Oh, we were just saying, so she's a kid and she wrote this book and stuff, but we actually haven't read the book, so we don't know how good it is. And she has a good vocabulary, but really her point is very simple, which is just like adults should listen to kids. So I think all kids could probably get behind that, and maybe adults too in general. But yeah, we just sort of thought it's true that, maybe some of what she's saying, maybe she's been listened to all her life, and so she thinks other kids deserve that same right, when in fact they might not have very groundbreaking views.
Okay, so now that we've seen both sides, you can, you have your opinions, you've seen the video. So I mean, everybody's opinion is different, but it's nice to see how you can have one opinion, but then think about it in a different way. So Adora's, Vac's opinion on children's rights could be different than what we think, but it's nice to have looked at it from both sides.
And so kind of how this wraps up into thinking about it in terms of like real world application. One of the topics that have been talked about over the last few years is in terms of child's rights and how much do they have to say. According to Time Magazine, I read a recent article that was saying how parents felt that they would have their rights undermined, and that's why they're saying that they wouldn't be able to, or it would be questioned if they were to spank or how to punish their children, and how it would be looked upon. And then also just even outside of the U.S. in terms of regimes and oppression and oppressive environments where they want to keep that autonomy and authority in how they manage their government and how they manage their kids as well. So that's kind of the real world application to how controversial this topic really is in terms of how to listen, or should we listen to children. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome. There's one last step that's cool that we didn't get to do, but it's like a joint position basically. So if we were to keep going, we could come up with something we all kind of could agree on. I'm going to turn this off just so it is a different clip.